Good afternoon, and thank you for coming back to Being Black and Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. This is Angie, the undeniable vixen, your host. I know it's been a long time, but happy Black History Month. And I want to do something special. I guess that's kind of why I kind of took some time and still trying to get some things curated because this is extra special to me, I think. And when I was traveling, last year, I went to, I did my little European vacation and I went to the lovely area in London called Brixton Village. And of course, me and Ashley fell in love with the place. We kept on going back and found a really nice kinship with the people and the culture and the food and everything about it. And we wanted to kind of shared that with you when we did our little escapades as far as what we did there. But I wanted to also do a little bit more refocusing and realigning with Brixton Village and the people there. So I will be doing probably just a solo podcast later on before the end of the month about that. Excuse me. But in the meantime, we do have a guest. Yay! We do have a guest. It's been such a long time since I've been on the pod. But today's conversation sits with the intersection of protest, photography, and purpose. This is about what happens when art becomes action. So our person that we have today is Wayne Campbell. And I want to introduce him to you. He's an amazing person. And we were just taken aback about his story and want to hear more about him, what he does, and how it is impactful to everyone. So let me welcome Wayne. Hello, Wayne. How are you?
Thank you so much, Angie. Thank you for inviting me onto your show.
Yeah. So okay, it seems like it's been forever since we chatted. But before I get down into the nitty gritty of your actual purpose, being the curator of a celebration of demonstration, tell me a little bit about you, where you grew up, and how you found this love for photography.
Wow. Um, well, I'm a native of Brixton. Grew up, born and raised in Brixton. Had my first kiss in Brixton. Had my first fight in Brixton. Was punched in the belly by a police officer for the first time in Brixton.
Wow.
So Brixton holds many memories. When growing up, I was always creative. I always wanted to use my craft to kind of, I don't know, tell stories. And as a creative, I trained as a graphic designer. Worked in print media for a while. Uh, for whatever reason, decided that I wanted to switch and moved into film for a while. Script writing, and in a weird kind of way, at every level with this creativity, it's always been at a high standard. I'm an winning graphic designer. I've won film awards for my films, and it's something that I've always just wanted to do. 2020, we all witnessed the murder of George Floyd on TV, and I remember watching this in the middle of lockdown. One of the biggest messages that we got over here in England was stay home, protect the NHS. So we were encouraged to stay at home and to protect our National Health Service. What I realized at this time is that I was actually living through two pandemics. I was living through COVID-19 and I was living through racism. So for whatever reason, watching George Floyd's murder on TV just made me so angry, made me upset. I remember crying. I remember just feeling like I needed to do something. And I remember sitting at home asking, what is my role in this? What am I supposed to do? And the universe simply said, you're supposed to record it. So I rushed out with my weapons and I started to shoot all of the rage that I was feeling. I put everything into this project, this purpose. And you know, when you said earlier, protest, photography, purpose, the three P's, that's exactly what it was for me. It was finally I found what I needed to do. And what I needed to do was use my skills as a photographer to tell important, necessary, and meaningful stories.
Wow. So when you, as you, I'm trying to think of how to say this, because you have this emotion that you're feeling, but you're also wanting to kind of step aside to capture this feeling. How were you able to do that, as far as like your mental health? How impactful was that?
This process has taught me so much about myself. This venture, celebration of demonstration, was born out of anger. You know, that was the primary feeling that I had, and I went out, and like I said, I went out and I was taking these pictures, but I was doing it with so much rage. I was going, smile, please, I want to take your picture. There was a lot of rage in this process, and it wasn't until I was able to use my skills as an illustrator to vomit out that rage and to creatively kind of place it in art that I was able to release that. You know, so art, my illustration, I'm also a percussionist, and my drumming became my catharsis. Those were the two tools that I used that would help me to channel this. And another thing which I need to add is I learned how to cry in this space, the celebration of demonstration, my gallery in Brixton. I learned how to cry. And I grew up in an environment where I was always being told to man up. What are you crying for? I'll give you something to cry, you know? So it was something that I held in. I didn't share. And then all of a sudden, I'm sharing so much. People will come into my gallery space and I'd ask for a hug, or I'll just cry. And I felt comfortable doing that. This work is bigger than me. And I get that in order to do it and to give it justice and to do it properly, I have to sit in that emotion. I have to be vulnerable. Really, really have to be vulnerable. And it's something that I'm learning. Can't say I'm 100% there yet, but I'm learning to do.
Are you seeing when people come into your space, the reaction of some of the portraits being uncomfortable, and you kind of helping them along with it, or are they talking about it, or are they kind of like?
It's everything. I mean, I've had people come in and the first thing they've done, they've come through the door and they've started crying. I've had people come in, we start talking, they start crying, I start crying. And it's a release. The space holds so much energy. And one of the things that I love about this space is what I call global empathy. And you being there, the messages that people write and leave on the wall, there are thousands of handwritten messages that people leave on the walls. And what I take from that is the energy that lives within these messages, and I can feel it without sounding too umbla. It's something that I get to intuit, and curating not just my pictures, but curating how the space looks and the messages and where they go. That's that's a powerful that's a powerful part of the curation of the space, and I love that.
As I told you, my printer was going to start printing my questions. This so sorry.
No
So
worries.
um one thing I wanted to, I guess, talk about was I tried to pull some things. Let me see if I can pull it up on the stage. See if you can take me back to, I think, this is one of the pictures that I have that I was able
Okay.
to that I was able to put at my desk, because one of the pictures I was like,
Okay.
oh, outside the background, I said, I can't take that. I can't take that to work. They're gonna get me. But
Okay.
this one, I absolutely fell in love with. Um, can you take me back to this picture?
This picture is based on a photograph I took, which I called Afroactivism. In June 2020, I remember being outside the American Embassy in Nine Elms, London, and seeing this woman who had just this perfect kind of black exploitation look. She had this Angela Davis afro. She had these massive hooped earrings. She had eyes that would follow you everywhere you went, and she was stunning. And I asked if I could take her picture, and I took the picture. And she was holding this sign saying, "I refuse to be silent." It was just spectacular. But it was when I got home and started drawing that picture. So the woman in this picture is from that photograph. This was how I was able to get that rage out of me, because this picture illustrates what I was feeling at that time. And it's part of a series which is called Strange Fruit. And what it does is it talks about the chains of oppression that hold us back. It talks about the struggle and suffering that people of color have gone through historically. But one of the things it also talks about how, after 400 years of having your foot on our necks, we see everything. There is nothing you can visit upon black and brown bodies that we haven't experienced, that we haven't witnessed before.
Mm-hmm.
So the eyes in the pictures kind of represent visibility. We've seen it. We've been there. We are conscious of everything, the struggles that we have had to endure. And I really wanted to. That was the message that I would tell myself day in, day out. That is the message that would help me to work through this process. That was one of the things that allowed me to realize that the work that I was putting together and that I wanted to do and that I was doing was valid, it was necessary, and it had purpose, had meaning, had depth. So this illustration it was part of 4 illustrations that I did in the series, but it was one that really allowed me to look beyond just the hurt and the pain, to see that there was growth, love, as well, and it wasn't just a painful narrative.
Yeah. So I'm seeing her, but I'm seeing also the visual images in the foreground, the the things that are blooming. So we're still alive. We're still, carrying on, even though we're dealing with this tragedy.
Yeah,
So yeah, I can see that. And she's ominous as far as being a standout. So I can just imagine what it was seeing her in person. So you said that visual activism became my language.
it did. It did. And it's interestingly, for 20 years I've been a photographer. And when I started taking pictures, I remember a friend of mine sold me a camera that they were getting rid of, and I would take this camera and I'd go to family functions and I would take pictures. And the reason why I got into photography initially was because I just didn't want to talk to people at family functions. It was my way of hiding. So taking pictures was my form of hiding. And it's when I say that, and I've said it often in the last couple of years, when I say that, it's strange because to be out there, I wanted to be away from it all. And I would refer to myself as a bloke. I'm just a bloke with a camera. I'm not a photographer. I'm a bloke with a camera. And then in 2017, I was in Cuba. And Cuba, for me, it just feels like my spiritual home. And I took a picture of a car. It's on my website. And it's this blue car. And it showed me that I could actually call myself a photographer, because the term photographer had carried such a weight with it that I was like, no, I'm not good enough to be a photographer. I'm still a bloke with camera. So some 13 years after I got my camera, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I am a photographer. So then I started calling myself a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2020, after the murder of George Floyd and on the first protest I ever went to, I stopped being a photographer and I became a visual activist because I felt that my work needed to say more than I'm pretty. And the distinctive difference for me between photography and visual activism is you see photography, but you feel visual activism.
Yes. 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 I definitely can concur with that. That it just evokes emotions and it takes you to a place where you were or where you when you heard what happened, or you remember seeing something and it just takes you to a place, and all those emotions come back up because it hasn't it hasn't been that long. People, the others try to push back and say, oh, it's been such a, just forget about it, just forget about it. But we can't, because if you forget about it, it will continue to happen, and it continues to happen. So yeah, I definitely understand that. Um, so Brixton is like a living character, would you say?
So I grew up in Brixton. I grew up in Brixton at a time when Brixton was considered in the same sentence as Johannesburg and Compton as being one of the worst places in the world to visit. Now my gallery is nestled between frappuccinos and lattes. Change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't throw the history out with the bathwater. And Brixton has such a rich history. Brixton is activism. Activism is Brixton. It's the most activated part of the whole United Kingdom, as far as I'm concerned. So having my gallery there now is powerful. It's such a kind of reminder of what I endured growing up, what I went through, the lessons that I got from my parents and from people in the community. Brixton it's rooted in activism. Its history is stooped in protest, and I absolutely love it for that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you said that it has to be there. This is where the gallery has to be. It can't be anywhere else.
It has to be. Well, this is where it has to, this is the beginning of the journey. A celebration of demonstration will grow, and there will be. I want people to be able to recognize the brand. I want people to say, hey, I was at a celebration of demonstration exhibition in France with this incredible French photographer. It can't end with me and my work, because a celebration of demonstration is more than just one person. It's a movement. It's a safe space for protest. Protests aren't going anywhere. Demonstrations aren't going anywhere. So we need to be able to create spaces that allow us or that inform our empathy or our sense of empathy. And that's what I'm hoping this space does. I'm hoping it allows people to look at their empathy through creativity, through visual activism. You know, we all remember the picture of the guy stood in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square, or the young girl who was running after being hit by napalm in the Vietnam War. You know, these are images that are etched in our minds and our consciousness, and this is the power of visual activism. I saw a picture the other day, and it's still one of the most striking pictures I think I've ever seen. And it was a Congolese picture. It was of a father. I'm going to say it's a father. No, it was a father. Sat on a porch, kneeling down, looking down at two small hands. And they were the hands of his daughter. And they'd been cut off because he didn't reach his quota of collecting rubber. Now, when I think about that picture, when I think about everything it represents with regards to the power of that image, you know, and in my head I know that he toiled as hard as he could to reach his quota, and I know that in the conditions that they were working in, he did whatever he could because he knew if he didn't, what the consequences were. And to see this person sat there quietly, just staring at his daughter's severed hands, that broke me. That just really made me look at the work that I do and why I do it and why it's important, why it's so important. We communicate with a language which is part facts, part opinion. These days, more opinion than anything. Visual activism is a different language. It's about engaging with your empathy. You can look at a picture and boom, think, wow, that says this to me. That says that to me. And I think sometimes art gets overlooked for how powerful a tool it is in allowing us to really look at empathy, to really look at what some people might say are complex situations, but they're not. So this is my tool.
And you're building legacy. That's a legacy as far as like branching out, because I did not know that that was your part of your vision to have other Wayne Campbells or the Wayne Campbells of the world that are out there.
I just can't. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. So I want a celebration of demonstration to represent other visual activists globally. I want a celebration of demonstration to celebrate the power of our voices, you know, and I can start this, but I absolutely can't finish it. And it's important that I find other visual activists, that I use my platform to give voice to the creative geniuses that exist everywhere, that are using their voices to tell necessary, powerful, meaningful stories, you know, and more people are out there capturing protests, capturing demonstrations, and sharing that, you know. And I just think it would be remiss of me not to use my skill as a storyteller to tell some of the most important stories at a time where we really need to have a lot of honesty in what we're feeding one another.
Let me see if I have another picture. What about this picture here?
Wow.
Tell me more about this one.
So I took this picture again. I think this was in Westminster, and I saw this woman holding this sign: "Slavery hasn't been abolished; it's been redesigned." And it's weird because sometimes you take a picture or you see a sign, or you know, you're in a moment which you'll capture, but it doesn't hit you until sometime later.
Mm-hmm.
This journey for me has been such an eye opener, you know, and one of the things that I'm constantly having to do is update, educate, readdress so many things around race privilege. And I remember seeing this picture, and it speaks to me about the shift in how black and brown bodies have been commoditized over the years. You know, from slavery through Jim Crow through mass incarceration. You know, there's always a new way of of um, capitalizing on the toil of black and brown bodies, and that's what this says to me. It
Mm-hmm.
says that we are still living in those times. Interestingly, I read a book not too long ago, Black AF History. Um,
It's on my, I found someone finally gifted it to me. I've been waiting to, but go ahead.
and yeah, it's brilliant. The last there's a bit in the last chapter, and it talks about how America now, and look, I'm not American, so America now is exactly the same as it was 200 years ago. And at the
Mm-hmm.
time of reading that, I was like, wow, this is so powerful. But one of the things that was happening back then was that there were lynchings and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
there aren't any lynchings. And then there were the lynchings that happened in Mississippi. And it was weird because I was like, wow, they're absolutely right. It is exactly the same. But
Yes,
I
it
just think
is.
that we're caught between two paradigms, fear and comfort. And a lot of people aren't out there up in arms or protesting because, they're like, if I get caught, I'll get arrested, or, I've got a mortgage and credit cards, and who's going to pay this or bail me out? Rah, 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 rah. So I'm going to stay away from them. And on the other hand, you've
Mm-hmm.
got those who are caught up in this comfort bubble. I've got that 60-inch TV, comfortable sofas, Netflix, Deliveroo. I'm good. I don't need to do that. It's
Mm-hmm.
important to use your voice, and sometimes to do that, you have to put your head above the parapet and run the risk of it maybe being hit, shut off. But we have a voice for a reason, and it's important that we use it. So in isolation, slavery hasn't been abolished, it's been redesigned. That's just a picture. But beyond that picture, there's a narrative that needs us to look into and to find that in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
How how are we being commoditized in the way that black and brown bodies had been 100 to 400 years ago?
Wow. Yeah. It's it definitely when I saw it, I was just like, I definitely really just connected with it and feel like we are just on the precipice of going back to where we were. And I think that people take it lightly. That's why um, your voice and your vote is so important, and people take that for granted. And demonstrating with physically out in the streets and physically with your vote is what people are not doing enough of, and that's why we're in the shit show that we're in right now.
No,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
But
Um,
it's life, especially in the Western world. Life's comfortable. Life is comfortable by design. Life is,
Mhm.
you've got the trappings of everything by design. It's easier to have people at home watching TV, playing PlayStation, or, messing around with the latest gadgets, because then you're preoccupied. It's harder if you don't have those things to preoccupy you. So,
Mhm.
and those things are readily available. So,
So you have an evolution of your voice. So from 2022 to right now, I also saw a release of 710 Year One.
yes.
So the work that started speaking back to me, and I think I have one of the pictures here. This one. This is the first one that I was looking at.
Yeah.
Tell me more, I guess, overall, what this compilation was supposed to be about.
Okay. So, 7th of October 2023, we witnessed the attack in Israel. And then subsequently after that, from 7th of October 2023 to this current day, we've witnessed the Israeli state kind of, well, doing what they're doing in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Palestine. 710th Year One was me going on protests in London, capturing everything that was happening on the streets for in the pro-Palestinian protests that were taking place. So it's a collection of images that I had taken in that first year and put together in this
Mhm.
book. This book came out on the 7th of October 2024. So it was a whole year's worth of protests on the streets of London. And what was quite interesting is, and like I said before, prior to 2020, I wasn't the most political. I wasn't the most activated person. Not at all. And I
Mhm.
remember one of my earliest recollections of anti-Semitism was when Jeremy Corbyn was kicked out of the Labour Party for being an anti-Semite, and I couldn't quite understand what
Mhm.
it meant. I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't ask. I wasn't. I don't know if I felt silly, but it was something that I thought, you know what, there are more important, intelligent people out there that probably understand what it means. And I remember when I started this project, I thought I'm going to need to do a deep dive into what anti-Semitism is. I'm going to have to find out about the Nakba. I'm going to have to find out about the info on various things that had been happening during this conflict over the years,
Mhm.
and it was interesting because there's so much stuff that I had no idea about. And whenever I take pictures at a protest, be it Palestinian, Congolese, Sudanese, whatever, it's always, I think it's useful to kind of get a bit of backstory to find out. I was in Palestine last year. I went to the West Bank and took some pictures and just spoke to people in Ramallah, in Jericho, in East Jerusalem, and in Bethlehem. And when you see apartheid up close and personal, it hits different. It really hits.
Mhm.
And I understand that I'm I didn't choose to do this. This chose me. And this is way bigger than me. So I'm grateful for the fact that I'm doing this. I'm grateful that my interests have turned into something that I would never have dreamt that they would have. So being there, speaking to these people, having these experiences has really allowed me double down on my commitment to making this work, because this work is so important. It's so necessary. And I think we get caught in our own, well, politics. Look, let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story. Um, Politics has definitely changed. You know, I remember growing up in a time when if you were a politician and you got caught with your dick in the secretary or your hand in the cookie jar, you'd come on
Mhm.
TV the next day and you'd apologize to the nation, and you'd step down, you'd stand down and say, you know,
Mhm.
what you know, what I did was terrible, and I'm going to resign straight away. These days, you double down. You'd be like, well, it wasn't my secretary. Well, clearly, it was somebody else's dick. Yeah, I mean, it's
Right.
you know, let's not let the truth get in the way. And
Any excuse.
yeah, and I think the truth has left politics a long time ago. You know, and
Mhm.
that's a shame. It really is. Critical thinking is at an all-time low, and
Absolutely.
and it just feels as if people just want to be told what to think and how to think it. You know, and politicians, for whatever reason, have grabbed hold of that, and it's making their job easier. I don't want to say that people, by and large, are stupid, but it's. I just think it's been made way too easy for people in
Mhm.
power to get away with some of the stuff that they have.
We do. Yeah. So I'm also wondering, but taking you back to this time, um, and it's being so volatile, just probably just walking around with your safety. Um, it's I'm sure it's probably traumatizing taking, in the midst of this situation in Palestine and Gaza, and um, how do you approach your photography when do you before you go out, are you thinking of something to do as far as like I don't know, like a mantra or uh, some type of kind of I guess systematic thing that you might do before you go out, because it's so volatile, and trying to take these pictures with dignity and care, because it is traumatic that there things are happening that are very traumatic, um, especially when you see there are stories like you see at home, or you see in the Americas, or you see in Africa with apartheid.
I think all you can do is be honest with yourself, uh, and have faith. Weirdly enough, faith has never actually been something that I've put a lot of stock in. No, not really. Um, I've often referred to myself as being a Ferrari with wooden wheels, and and that's because I just didn't believe that I could see my contribution to life, but I just didn't believe it.
Mhm.
And visual activism continues to rewrite that chapter for me. When I started this journey, it was born out of anger. I was angry, and the universe told me to record it. Now that I've managed to place that anger to one side, that's been replaced with purpose. And that purpose is based, or that purpose exists in a space where there is purpose, and that purpose is what is purpose. That purpose is based in a space where I trust the process, and I trust the process because I believe what I'm doing, and I believe it's necessary, and I believe that it can reach people, and it can aid people, and it can benefit others. So, am I scared? At times, absolutely. Do I fear what I'm doing? I think it's. I think I appreciate that this is bigger than me, and that I was chosen to do this, and as such, I have to trust the process. And that might sound a bit naive or a bit silly, but
That's
this
where we
is,
are.
yeah, this is. I didn't choose this, but
Mhm.
I will purposefully and professionally execute this to the best of my ability because it's necessary, it's needed, and I'm good at it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, as you are being the creator, or have there been any images at all that you were like, this is a little bit too raw, too close, that you did not share? And you're like, you
Hmm.
know what, this is a little bit too much. I don't think I can put this.
See, taking pictures at protests in London, on the streets of London, uh, I'd imagine that they're not half as um, half as I don't know dark or as powerfully um, negative as perhaps in other places. So no, if
Okay.
somebody doesn't want me to take their picture, then I won't take it. If I'm taking a picture and somebody's like, get out of here, then respectfully I'll leave that. Um,
Hmm.
but my it's strange because I'm saying a lot of stuff which kind of like feels like it's based around some kind of it's based around a degree of divinity. I'm I have always been the least religious person, but this work feels bigger than me. So currently, I don't think that there are many images that I can look at and say no, I can't share that. I can share everything currently, but
Hmm.
you know, but my journey's just begun, so that's subject to change.
So, so this is probably one of my last questions because um, I'm thinking about. I know it's late there. It's but um, ICE here in the Americas. What is your take in? Has there been any protests or any conversation about ICE where you are, or have you seen any visual activism that you know of that that have kind of captured some things as far as like ICE going around?
Well, politically, we're not in the same space um, that you were in America. There are parties over here, Reform probably being the most popular one, that are gaining momentum, and more and more people are joining. I think it's the second biggest party in this country at the moment. It's either on course to, or if not already, has taken over the Conservative Party in popularity. And it's led by Nigel Farage, and he's a ally of of Donald Trump. So you can only imagine
Mm-hmm.
that if reform went, then some of the policies brought in by Trump may be brought in by Nigel Farage. But there have been protests over here in England of people kind of like supporting stuff that has been happening in Minneapolis and denouncing ICE. But it feels like it's a bit of a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in America invariably sometimes comes over here. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's definitely something that we are paying close attention to. It's definitely something that we see, and yeah, some of the rhetoric here is it definitely divides opinion. Some people are like, what's happening out there is absolutely necessary, and go Trump. And then a lot of people are like, no, this whole authoritarian rule is dividing our society big time, But hey, I'm here to tell stories. I'm here to take pictures and to tell stories and to give a balanced view. So I'll continue to do that as best I can.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you, Wayne. This has been very eye-opening, and just the storytelling and just getting even more so um, an idea of what a celebration of demonstration and being a visual activist means, and how it is definitely needed at this time, because um, we can't necessarily look to our news to give us the truth, but pictures are going to is going to always be completely uh, translucent as far as showing what is going on, and giving the story that we may have missed. And I really appreciate you doing the work, and those others out there that are going to be coming behind you that will continue to do this work to show up and show resilience in this. So don't want you to go. Just hang on for a second, because we're going to say our goodnights. But again, thank you everyone for joining us for Being Black in Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence. And this is not just photography. This is a memory. This is resistance. This is Being Black in Craft.